Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, we begin the fifth Perek of Masechta Nazir, the last line of the Lamed Amud Beis. So this Perek is going to discuss the halachas of a person that takes upon himself Nazirus Betos. What happens with his Nazirus? Does it take effect? Does it not? We had similar halachas in Masechta Nedarim, if you remember, Nidrei Tos and things like that. But the Perek first opens with halachas as it applies to Hektish B'chlal. If a person is Makdish, a behema and it's betos. And from there, this is sort of an introduction to come to the halachas of Naziris betos. Zogt Heilige Mishnah, Beishamai Yoimrim, Beishamai say, hektish tos, hektish. If a person is makdish something and it was a mistake, the hektish nevertheless takes effect. What kind of a mistake was this? What was the scenario that happened? So the Mishnah here will explain. Beis Hillel say that ein hektish, or the Bach says einoi hektish. No, it's not. If it was done by mistake, then it's not hektish. So what's the case here? Zok the Mishnah Ketzad. How does this happen? Omad, the person said shor shachar sheyetze mi beisi rishain, a black ox which is going to come out of my house first. So the simple pshat of the Mishnah here is that he's standing there by his house, or he's in his house in the morning before this black ox came out, and he's expecting that the one that will come out first will be a black ox. So he says, that black ox that will come out first, harehu hektish. I want it to be hektish. What happened in the end? V'yotza lavan. Not like he expected, a white ox came out. So Beishamai Yomrim, Beishamai say, hektish. That still, it's going to be hektish. Taki made a mistake, but it doesn't matter. The hektish takes effect. Beis Hillel say ain't a hektish. No, because it's not what he said. He made a mistake, what he expected, so therefore it's not going to be hektish. Similar case, dinner zov sheyala biyadi rishin. The person says that, puts his hand in his pocket and he's sure that a gold coin is going to come out. So he says that gold coin that comes out with my hands first, hareo hektish. It should be hektish. And what happened? V'ala shel kesef. Instead, a silver coin came out of his pocket. Beishamai Yomrim hektish. Beishamai say it's taka mistake, but nevertheless it's still hektish. Beis Hillel say, ain't hektish. It's a mistake, so it's not hektish. Chavis shal yayin, a barrel of wine, he says, shetala biyadi rishayna, when I'm going to come and I'm going to go in his wine cellar or wherever it is where he stores things, and he says, I'm going to get first a barrel of wine, and what at hedi hektish, and therefore this barrel of wine should be hektish, and also shal shemen. Instead, he takes out the barrel and he discovers it's not wine, it's oil. Beishamai Yomrim hektish. Beishamai say it's hektish. Or Beis Hillel Yomrim eina hektish. Beis Hillel says it's not hektish. So you see, all the three examples of the Mishnah are basically the same point. There are various pshatim and rishonim why the Mishnah has to give three examples. One of the pshatim that it says in rishonim is that the first case is both are an ox. It's just a difference if it's black or white. Not such a huge mistake. But the case of the gold coin and the silver coin, that's already a much bigger mistake. It's a completely different kind of coin. It's gold and silver is a bigger mistake. And then the last case of the Mishnah is even a bigger mistake, because gold and silver, they're both coins. But here you're talking about oil and wine, which are two completely different things. So the Mishnah is giving you a bigger chiddush and a bigger chiddush as it goes along regarding Beishamai. And the same thing in the reverse. According to Beis Hillel, the chiddush is that even in the first case of the black and the white ox, where it's not such a huge mistake, they're both a share. But nevertheless, Beis Hillel says that if it's not the color of the ox that he intended it to be hektish, it's a mistake and it won't be hektish.
The opposite, if it's of lesser value, probably wouldn't.
So more or less of value is something the Gemara is going to discuss soon. Right now, we're just discussing that it's not what he said. Whether it's more or less of value, that's coming later in the Gemara. We'll see. Zok the Gemara, Beishamai Yomrim hektish chulu. So the Beishamai said that even if it was hektish of a mistake, it's still going to be hektish. My tamayu the Beishamai. What's the reason of Beishamai? It's a huge chiddush. It's not what he said, and nevertheless the hektish takes effect. So the Gemara answers, the Alfinon Tchilas Hektish, Misoif Hektish. We learn out in the beginning, when you makdir something for the first time, from the halacha the way it is at the end of Hektish. What is the end of Hektish? When you have something which is already Hektish, and you want to transfer or exchange this Hektish with something else. That's what's called Tmura. A person says that instead of this ox being the carbon, I want something else to be the carbon. What happens then? The original one remains hektish. You just transfer the hektish to the second one as well. Now, what's the halacha by Tmura? Ma Tmura, just like the halacha by Tmura is. Afilu b'ta'os, even with a mistake, it's going to be hektish. Af hektish, so too by hektish. Afilu b'ta'os, even a mistake, it'll be hektish. This is a halacha that's learned out in Masechta Tmura from a pasuk, where it says over there that the Tmura automatically is going to be Kodesh. The Gemara over there, the Rosh over there brings the pasuk, that the pasuk over there says, Yiyeh Kodesh, that it doesn't matter, even if the person intended to say one thing. He intended to say that this animal should be hektish, and he made a mistake. His words came out not like his kavanah, and instead he said, no, that something else should be hektish. It's not what he intended to say. Nevertheless, the Tmura takes effect, and that animal becomes hektish. So here as well, when he said Shor Shachar, and instead a Shor Lavan came out, so nevertheless, this Shor Lavan becomes hektish. That's the source from Tmura. Beis Hillel Oimre, and Beis Hillel says you can't compare it to Tmura. Why? Because Hanim merely Tmura. That's true. There's a pasuk that teaches us this regarding Tmura, which is transferring an existing hektish to another animal, or the Gemara calls that before soif hektish. Avalachusi hektish betos loy machtinan. But to bring about a effect of hektish from the beginning, that you can't do if it's done with a mistake. If you wanted the black one to be hektish and instead the white one came out first, so then the hektish can't take effect from the beginning. There's a famous hasbah on this Gemara from Rabbi Yosef Engel. That here in this Gemara you see that there's a machlokes what the definition of Tmura is. Is the pshat Tmura that it's also like a new hektish? When you're makdish the second animal through Tmura, is the koyach Torah saying is that this second animal is like a new hektish, and therefore Beis Shammai says if that's the case, you could compare the halacha of Tmura to hektish b'chlal. Tmura is also considered to be a new hektish, and therefore we compare that to the hektish the first time when you want hektish to take effect. Or no, the Tmura is just sort of transferring an existing hektish to another animal, so it's a less of a chiddush of hektish. So you can't compare that to the first time you're being makdish something, like Beis Hillel says. So the Gemara now asks on this comparison to Tmura. Again, let me just emphasize, to understand the question here, the case by Tmura was that the person had in mind to say one thing, but instead what actually came out of his mouth was something else. And still, the hektish by Tmura will take effect. That was the example by Tmura. Now, if you think about it, it's not exactly the same to our case. Because over here, it's not that the person intended to say one thing and by mistake he said something else. Here, he said clearly what he wanted. He said he wants the black shirt that's going to come out of his house to be hektish. And instead, he made a mistake. He expected a black shirt to come out. And instead, what ended up happening? A white shirt came out. So now we're going to say here a much bigger chiddush than Tmura. Here he's saying that the white shirt will be hektish, and he never said white shirt, he only said black shirt. So the comparison is not exactly the same. So therefore the Gemara asks now, Beis Shammai, according to Beis Shammai, yeah, over there by Tmura it's sort of a plate to sapeh. Exactly, he intended one thing, but he said something else. Over here it's not a plate to sapeh. He said one thing, and what actually ended up happening is different than what he said. So now the question is, according to Beis Shammai, his whole source is from Tmura. So over there by Tmura itself, Ma ilu amar harezeh tachazeh lachatzi yayim. If he comes and says that he wants the Tmura to happen and take effect when? In the middle of the day. He's standing in the morning, but he only wants it to take effect later in the day. Mi havi Tmura ma'hi shaita. Will it become Tmura when he's talking now? No, it won't become Tmura at that point. Ella ad mati chatzi yayim hud avya Tmura. It'll only become a Tmura when, according to what he said, in middle of the day. In other words, by Tmura, what the person says, that's the way it takes effect. So Hachanami, if so over here as well, L'chi megalya milsa, shouldn't we say that only when what he said becomes implemented in action, it actually happens? Meaning, if he actually said that he wants the black shirt that comes out first to be hektish, so only if that black shirt came out of his house, then it should be hektish. Right? Because in other words, even though yes, this takakzeres akasav by Tmura that a plate is sapeh, if he said something different than what he intended, it becomes hektish. But what he says is the way it takes effect by Tmura. V'haraya, over there you see that it only takes effect in the middle of the day, because that's what he actually said. So over here by hektish, if he actually said that the black shirt should be hektish, how does a white shirt become hektish? It's not what he said. So therefore the Gemara asks charata of this comparison to Tmura. You can't bring that as a source. Amar Rav Papa, so Rav Papa says, the Rishonim say that really the Gemara should have said Ella Amar Rav Papa, because the Gemara usually when it has charata it says Ella. It doesn't say the word Ella because the previous pshat was not brought in the name of any specific Amayre, but the Gemara now is presenting a totally new pshat. So Rav Papa says that the pshat in our Mishnah is different than what we thought. Lekach nema rishain. This is why. it says over here, what did the person say? That the black shar that comes out first should be hektish. What he meant to say is l'keshayetze rishain, that the first black shar that comes out. He didn't mean to say that the very first shar that will come out of the house will be hektish, and that first shar is going to be the black shar. He meant to say the first black shar that comes out. Could be there's going to be a white shar that's going to come out before. But the first black shar, he owns more than one black shar. He has, let's say, 2, 3, 5 black shvarim. And he says the first of those black shvarim, the first black shar that comes out, that will be hektish. That's what he meant to say. Right? So in other words, his words, the way he said it is a bit misleading, right? Because he said, shar shachar sheyetze mi beisi rishain. It sounds like he's saying that the black shar is going to be the first to come out. But really what he meant to say is that the black shar first of all the other black shvarim that will come out, that will be hektish. So there's really no mistake in the hektish here at all. And in other words, according to this pshat of Rav Papa, in a case of the person Taka said one thing and it happened different than what he said, there is no such a thing as hektish betos. The hektish is not going to take effect on the white shar. The hektish only takes effect on the black shar. What did he mean to say? The first black shar of the shvarim that will come out, that will be hektish. The first one Taka came out white, and that white one will not be hektish. And then the first black shar that comes out, that's the one that's going to be hektish, because it's the first of the black shvarim that came out. Fragt the Gemara, but how do you know that that's the case here? He said the black shar should be hektish. And mi lo yaskina. Aren't we talking about here in a case the lesle elahai, that he only owns this one black shar? So you can't say that he's saying the first of the black shvarim should be hektish. He only owns one black shar. So how do you say rishain if there is no others that follow after this? So again, Mila Yaskina the Lesi Elahai, he only owns this one black shar.
Then how did the white one come out?
Well, he only owns one white shar maybe, or maybe he owns more than one white shar, but only one black shar. That's the question. Maybe he only owns one black shar. He owns other white shvarim, but the white ones are irrelevant because he didn't say that the white ones should be hektish. He only said the black one should be hektish. But now he wanted to touch and say that what does it mean? The first of all of his black shvarim, fragt the Gemara, but the Mishnah doesn't give any limitations here. Maybe the case is he only owns one black shar. So what does it mean first? So the Gemara says, you're right, we have no choice. According to this pshat of Rav Papa, what he's saying is, leit tzriche, the case over here in the Mishnah is, the islay trein klasa, that he owns 2 or 3 black shvarim. And therefore what he's saying is, that the first of those 2 or 3 shvarim, the black one that comes out, will be hektish. Now, according to this, why does Beis Hillel say that it's not hektish? Well, Beis Hillel say, look at the actual literal words that he says. That's not what it sounds like he meant. Because imkein sheyetze berisha mibayale, he should have said the one that will come out first. What's the lashon of the Mishnah? That he said shei shacha sheyetze mi beisi rishain, the one that will come out from my house first. When he adds mi beisi, it's mashma that he's not referring only to the specific category of black shvarim. He's saying whatever shvarim he has in his house, the one that will actually come out first from my house. So that goes on the one that came out first from his house, which is the white shar. And therefore, that's not what he said. So therefore, the white one can't be hektish, and the black one can't be hektish either, because it's not the first one that came out of the house. So because he says beisi, it's not mashma, he's only talking about the herd of the black shvarim. Therefore, it won't be hektish. Basically, it comes out, the machlokes of Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel is whether we could sort of twist his words a little bit, or no, you have to take his words literally, and therefore the white one came out first, and it won't be hektish. So Amalei Rav Mibarnish Ravashi. So Rav Mibarnish asks Ravashi on this pshat. Hi, hektish betosu. This is what the Mishnah refers to as a hektish with a mistake. It's not a mistake. Mishnah calls it tos. Hektish b'kavanahu. What Beis Shammai is saying is that this is his entire kavanah when he was makdish it. He said that it's going to. When he said the dishain, Beis Shammai says we understand what he meant is the first of the black shvarim, but not the first one that comes out of his house. That's exactly what he intended. Why is the Mishnah calling this a mistake? And says the Gemara, you're right, it's not really a mistake in the literal sense like we thought in the beginning, but rather mishum da'atye lidibure kama, because his words, the way it's being said, he's saying that shor shacha sheyetze mi beisi rishain, the way it's literally being said, it sounds like he's saying something else, so there's sort of a mistake in the way it's being phrased. But really, Beis Shammai says, even though it's not being phrased clear, but we say that this is what he really meant, and we could sort of push it into his words itself, that he meant that the first one of the black shvarim that will come out, then it'll be hektish. So the lashon toss of the Mishnah, taka, does not mean kapshuti that it's a toss, but it just means that the words he says looks like a mistake regarding what actually happened. Frag the Gemara, so now what's the basis of the pshat of Rav Papa? Rav Papa is basically saying that Beis Shammai really agrees that there's no such a thing as hektish betos. If it's an actual mistake, if he said one thing and something else happened, the white shirt will not become hektish, only the black shirt. So that means Beis Shammai really agrees there's no such a thing of actual hektish betos. So this the Gemara asks two questions. Savri Beis Shammai, hektish betos lehave hektish. Does Beis Shammai hold that if it's an actual mistake, that it will not be hektish? But Vatnan, we learned in the Mishnah here later in the Pedic here, Misha Nada ben Nazir. Person made an heter to be a Nazir, and then V'nishal l'chachamim, and he got a heter from Chachamim for his Naziris, V'hitiru, and they were mat to his neder. So the Rishonim may point out that since this is going here also according to Beis Shammai, Shammai holds you can't be shoyal on Naziris, no heter for Naziris, and therefore the Mishnah here must mean that he went to a Chacham, and the Chacham showed him that the way he made his neder for Naziris was incorrect, and the Naziris never took effect. That's what the shoyal over here means. Now, and he had an animal which was already separated for the karbanis that the Nazir has to bring. What happens now that it's revealed that he never was a Nazir? So the animal could go out and graze amongst all the other herd of animals. It's just chulin. It never was hektish. So Amr Beis Shammai, so Beis says to Beis Shammai, don't you agree that this is a situation of hektish betos? The person thought he's a Nazir, and therefore he was makdish this animal. So that's an example of a hektish which is a mistake. And v'teitze v'tire be'eder. And nevertheless, here the halacha is that what happens with this animal, that it just becomes ois hektish. It's because it turns out to be a mistake. It goes back into the herd of all the animals of chulin. So Beis Hillel was trying to prove to Beis Shammai from here, how could you say that hektish betos takes effect if here we see that this hektish betos, which turns out to be a tos because he never was a Nazir, that now the animal is not hektish anymore? That was the question Beis Hillel asked on Beis Shammai. What do we see from this? Miklal, the Savri Beis Shammai. From this we understand that what was Beis Shammai's opinion, that hektish betos have a hektish, that a hektish that was a total, a real mistake, is going to be hektish. Because that's the example here. This person thought he's a Nazir, and therefore he's makdish his behemoth. It turns out he's not a Nazir, so the whole hektish is a mistake in the first place. And still, apparently, from the question of Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai holds that this is going to be hektish. So how could Rav Papa say that the pshat in our Mishnah is that there's no real mistake here? We're just reinterpreting his words. Ella, says the Gemara, the pshat over here is that really Beis Shammai never held that hektish betos is a hektish. Beis Hillel was asking this on Beis Shammai because they misunderstood Beis Shammai's opinion. Beis Hillel, who the kato, Beis Hillel made a mistake thinking what Beis Shammai was saying. Sabri, they thought, the Beis Shammai mishum the hektish betos have a hektish. They thought that Beis Shammai holds that hektish betos is hektish. And Avamri Lahaim Beis Shammai, and Beis Shammai was telling them, Lav Mishum Hektish B'Tosu. The reason why we hold in the first Mishnah of the Pedic that we just learned that it's going to be hektish is not because he's saying that the white shirt will be hektish, even though that's not what he said. No, hektish b'tos is taka not a hektish. It's just that his words, the way he's expressing his words, it sounds like he's saying one thing, but really we interpret and we explain that he meant something else, and therefore it'll be hektish. But hektish b'tos is taka not hektish. Another question the Gemara has also from a Braisa later, Toshima, the Gemara starts with a question. V'savri Beis Shammai hektish b'tos lahava hektish. According to Rav Papa, so is this true that Beis Shammai holds that hektish b'tos is not a hektish? So here there's another case regarding Nazirus. So Toshima hoyu mahalchim b'derech. You have a couple of people that are walking together on the way. So as we'll see here in the Braisa, this is 6 people that are walking together on the way, and they're all accepting Nazirus upon themselves, each one with sort of a different condition. So these 6 people walking down the street, there's someone that's coming across or coming towards them. So the first individual pipes up and says, Hareini Nazir shezeh Ploini. I'll be a Nazir if it's Ploini, if this guy is Reuven, let's say. Now the second person pipes up and says, Hareini Nazir she'ein zeh Ploini. I'll be a Nazir if it's not that person that you say it is. Okay, so now this is a contradiction. Only one of them could be a Nazir, either him or him. Now the third person comes and says, Hareini Nazir she'echad mikem Nazir. I'll be a Nazir. If one of you are a Nazir, then I'll be a Nazir. Okay? So now it's a third individual. Now a fourth person says, She'ein echad mikem Nazir. I'll be a Nazir if none of you are a Nazir. If none of you are right. And then the fifth person comes and says, Sheshneichem Nazirim. I'll be a Nazir if both of you are Nazir, which is really impossible because it's all. One person said that this is Reuven coming towards us, and the other person says, no, it's not Reuven coming towards us. One of them is right and one of them is wrong. Right? So when this person says, I'll be a Nazir if you're both right, it's basically a toss. Right? So this is now he's going to have to bring karbanis for his Naziris. So this is if he's going to be makdish behemis for his Naziris, this is a hektish betos. And then the last person, the sixth person says, Shakulchem Nazirim. I'll be a Nazir if the truth is that all of you are Nazirim, which again is obviously impossible. So what does Beishamai say? Beishamai Yaimrim, Kulam Nazirim. They're all going to become Nazirim. They're all saying they want to be a Nazir, each one giving a different condition how his Naziris is going to take effect. So there's a few of them where it's possible that what they're saying is true. But most of them, it's impossible that what they said is true. But nevertheless, Beishamai says that even though it's a mistake what they said, but the Naziris takes effect, and the kabbanas that they'll bring will also be hektish. So you see from here, Flek the Gemara, 1 second, so you see, what do you see? Hektish betasu. Over here, obviously, this Naziris for money, some of them is a mistake. And nevertheless, v'katani kulam nazirim. Beishamai says that it doesn't matter. The nazir still takes effect even though it's a mistake. So you clearly see over here that Beishamai holds that a hektish betos is a hektish. The naziris betos is a nazirus, and the hektish betos is a hektish. So this is a question of Rav Papa. How could Rav Papa say that there's no hektish betos? And the only reason in the Mishnah we learned over here that the hektish is a hektish is because we are interpreting that this is what he really meant. But over here we clearly see that if it's betos, it is going to be hektish. So the Gemara says,
condition didn't.
And a chanami, but he didn't realize. He thought that this could happen. He thought that two people will be Nazirim. He made a mistake. It's impossible, but he thought that it is possible.
It's more than a mistake. It's more than a mistake. It wouldn't happen. It's not going to happen.
Okay. No. So this is Beishamai's opinion that he still becomes a Nazir.
It's a Tanai over here.
It's a Tanai, you're saying. The Tanai never took effect. Okay, but Afal became Beishamai holds. We'll learn about this later more. We'll see. This is going to be the big discussion in this page. This is what this pedic is about. Nevertheless, Beishamai says that it takes effect. So it's clearly not like Rav Papa's Pshat l'chayra. So Amri, the Gemara answers, they said as follows. Now there's two pshatim how to learn this Gemara. The simple pshat of this Gemara is, Savri Beishamai hektish betos have a hektish. You're right, from that Mishnah that we just quoted, or that Braisa, it's clear that Beishamai holds that even if it's a tos, the hektish, the naziris takes effect. But hacha loy, or the Bachas adds, it says, Mei hacha loy. From here, you don't have a raya for this. The simple pshat of the Gemara is saying is, in our Mishnah, the pshat of Rav Papa would be a pshat. There's no raya in our Mishnah that the words hektish betos means literally a mistake. Over here, it means that we just interpret what he really meant, that he really meant the first of the black shvarim that come out will be hektish. So from our Mishnah, we have no raya. The Beishamai holds that a hektish of a tos is a hektish. But you're right, from this brisa that you just quoted from later, from there will be a raya that hektish betos is a hektish, and therefore this refutes Rav Papa's pshat. That's Tosfos' pshat in the Gemara, and many Rishonim, that Rav Papa's pshat is refuted. But the Rosh says that's not what the Gemara is saying. What the Gemara is saying is that there's a difference between the mistake of this Braisa and the mistake of our Mishnah. What's the difference? Over there, the person said that I'll be a Nazir. If this happens, if that happens, now the way you made your condition was all a mistake, and really your Naziris cannot take effect. But nevertheless, this is what you said. You thought that you could become a Nazir this way. You made a mistake. Really, you can't. But you thought you could. So therefore, Beishamai said that you become a Nazir, because this is what you said. What you said was a mistake. It doesn't matter. But this is what you said, you become a Nazir. Our Mishnah is different though. In our Mishnah, the toss is different. He said one thing and something else happened. He said that the black shirt should be a hektish and a white shirt comes out. It's not even what he said. Over here the mistake is much further. So what the Gemara is saying is, you bring me a raya from a case of hektish betos later, but that's what he actually said. In our Mishnah, Beishamai will agree that hektish betos is not a hektish because over here what ended up happening is different than the words that he actually said. And therefore Rav Papa's pshat actually remains according to this. Okay, but now the Gemara brings another pshat in our Mishnah, completely different pshat. Abaya Omar, Abaya says, that there's a whole different way to understand our Mishnah. You shouldn't think the pshat in our Mishnah is like we were learning till now, that this person, when he's saying these words, that this behemoth should become hektish. How did we understand the Mishnah till now? He's saying what he's saying before the shur came out of his house. Not that he says that's not the pshat. The kohen betzafere, that it's in the morning, and he's saying that whichever shur comes out, or the black shur rather. He said the black shur that comes out of my house first, that should be hektish. That's not what happened. Elacha b'maya skin in the case over here is the kohen betira. This is, he's saying this already after the fact. He's standing in the afternoon, and va'amar, and he says, Shur shacher sheyotza, not sheyetze. Yetze is lashon asid, but he said sheyotza, which already came out of my house. Mi beis rishon, the black shur that came out of my house first. Lehevi hektish, it should be hektish. See, he was under the impression that this is what actually happened. And they said to him, Lavan nafak. No, you made a mistake. Really, it's the white shirt that came out first. And now he says, if I would have known that the truth is that it's the white shirt that came out first, I would have never said the black one. I would have said the white one. Here, even though it's different than what he actually said, we can see that he Pashut made a mistake. He thought Pashut that the black one came out first. That's why he said this. According to the previous pshat of the Mishnah, so he was expecting one thing to happen and something else happened. Over there, it's a real mistake. It's not like what he said. So if it's not what he expected, so Abaye says in such a case, it won't be hektish. Mashenkin over here, after the fact, and he thought that this is what happened, so here we realize that he made a mistake. And if he would have known that the white shirt came out first, he would have said that the white shirt should be hektish. And therefore, the white shirt will become hektish. Not like Rav Papa. Right? Rav Papa said that the black shirt becomes hektish. Abaye is saying, no, the white shirt becomes hektish. He said the black shirt. It's because it's after the fact. He didn't realize. He's being corrected. Once he's being corrected, we know that he meant that the white shirt should be hektish. Fragt the Gemara, Umi Matzes Amris. Can you say the Kohen B'Tira Osik that the Mishnah is speaking about a situation where he's already in the afternoon after the fact? But look at the lashon of the Mishnah afterwards. Vakatani, the Mishnah says, Dinis Shalzov Sheyale, that he says that this gold coin that will come out of my pocket. Sheyale means that he's talking about the future. It didn't happen yet. So the Gemara answers, Tani, according to Abaye's Pshat, you have to read in the Mishnah, She'Allah, also that after the fact that this coin that already came out of my pocket, that I already have, he didn't realize what it is. Chavis shal yafrek the Gemara. How about the next case? It says in the Mishnah, Chavis shal yayin shetale, that the chavis of the barrel of wine that will come up. So he's also talking about the future. So again, according to Abaye's Pshat, Ni also. You have to learn the Mishnah, not that will come, but that already came up. This is a new pshat in the Mishnah that we're talking about the person saying this after the fact, and it's understood that he made a mistake. Okay, that's the conclusion of this inyan, the two pshatim in the Mishnah. What exactly is the toss of this hektish in the Mishnah? Okay, now the Gemara comes back to explain the question that you brought up before, whether he said one thing and something else actually happened, is what actually ended up happening a better quality of what he intended to be makdish, or a worse quality of what he intended to be makdish? So the Gemara starts first with a statement of Rav Chisda and then comes back to this point here in the Mishnah. Amar Rav Chisda said, Uchma b'chivra, if you have a black ox that's amongst a herd of white oxen, what happens is lakya. This causes the value of all the white oxen to go down, because the white shvarim are a higher, better quality, and the black ox amongst them brings down their value. This is relevant for Mekach and Memker regarding transactions and sales. Then he said it's something else that some actually are not guided this, but in our Gemara we have chivra b'uchma lakya, and this means different than the first part of the statement. Chivra b'uchma means if you have a white spot on a black ox, that shows that there's a mum in this animal that the animal must have had something that was wrong with it, and therefore it has this white spot on a black animal. Okay, that prat is not so relevant over here of our Gemara. He has some skin disease. This is, like I said, someone not guided this. Okay, but the point that he said over here is, what ox is a better quality? The white oxen are better quality than the black ones. So now let's see what it says in our Mishnah. So Tanan, in our Mishnah it said that what happened, that so the Bach here brings the whole Mishnah, right? The Mishnah said, he said, Shei Shachar Sheyatza, or Sheyetze, or Sheyatza, if we go with the Pshat of Abaye. Sheyatza mi beisi risha in hektish, that the black shar will be hektish. And then what happened? So instead, the white shirt came out first. And what did the Mishnah say? According to Abaye's Pshat, which shar becomes hektish? Not the black shar. Even though he said that the black shirt that came out of my house first should be hektish, but the white shirt becomes hektish. So if so, what does that mean? That the white shirt, which is of a better quality, that's the one that becomes hektish. Now, kasal kedaitoch, at this point we're thinking that ki maktish, when a person is maktish, what's the attitude of a person? Ba'ayin ra maktish. He's really being maktish with a stingy eye. He wants to be maktish. If there's a choice how to interpret his words that it means a better quality or it means a worse quality, we estimate that when a person is makdish, he meant the worse quality, ba'ayin ra, with a more stingy eye. And nevertheless, what does it say here in our Mishnah? Va'amri beishamai have a hektish. Beishamai says, even though he said shar shacher, and it turns out that really it's the shar lavan that came out. What was Abaye's pshat? The shar lavan, which is a better quality, that becomes hektish. So even if it's true that Beishamai says that hektish betos will be hektish because he realizes that he made a mistake and it's the shar lavan that came out first, but it still shouldn't be hektish. Because a person, when he's makdish, has an ayin ra. And if Rav Chisda said that the white ox is a better quality, so the white ox should not be hektish. Because he said black, he thought that it's the black one that came out, so he didn't mean white, which is a better quality. So the Gemara says, what are you going to have to say? That maybe the opposite is true. That the reason why the white ox becomes hektish is because the attitude of a person when he's makdish something, and there's two ways to interpret what he means, a person actually has a generous eye. He wants to be makdish what's better. So over here, he finds out the mistake he made in his words, so now the white one, which is a better quality, will become hektish. That's the way it works. A person wants the best to be hektish. But now in the next case of the Mishnah, there'll be a contradiction to this, because what's the next case? The person says that this golden coin that will come up, or that already came up in my hands, instead he finds out that it's really silver. Now silver is definitely a worse quality than the gold. So Beishamai Yomrim hektish. So what does Beishamai say? Beishamai says that the silver will become hektish, even though the silver is definitely a worse quality. So now the first case of the Mishnah, we're saying that the white ox becomes hektish, and the white is a better quality. And now we're saying that the silver becomes hektish, even though the silver is a lower quality. So in other words, the point over here is, besides the whole discussion before in the Gemara regarding a person that made a mistake in what he thought happened, we also have to know, did the person intend that what's better should be hektish, or did the person intend that what's worse should be hektish? So it's sort of a contradiction here in the Mishnah. So now the Gemara will take this to the third case of the Mishnah. So ve'elamai, so according to the second case of the Mishnah, what are we forced to say? Ba'ayin ra makdish. That the reason why the silver becomes hektish is because a person's attitude is that what's less of a good quality should become hektish. But if so, what does it say in the third case of the Mishnah? In this barrel of wine that will come in my hands. And instead the oil came up, so what happens? Beishamai hektish. Beishamai say that this oil becomes hektish. But the question is, v'hashemen odif miyayin. We know that oil is more expensive and it's better than wine. And here we see that what's better quality becomes hektish. So now it turns out that besides what Rav Chisda said, we actually have a contradiction here in the Mishnah itself. When the person realizes that it's not what he said, do we say that if he realizes that it's something that it's a better quality, it becomes hektish? That's what I see from the last case regarding the oil. Or do I say that when he realizes that it's something that's inferior of what he said, then it becomes hektish, like with the silver and the gold? So the Gemara says regarding the oil and the wine, it's actually not so simple that oil is better quality than wine. Why? Because if that's your question, that there's a contradiction from the last case to the middle case, like Kashya, that's not a question. Because Begalila Shaninu, this is going on Galil in the north of Eretz Yisrael, in the mountains there where they grow a lot of vineyards and there's good wine there. The Chamra Adif Mimishcha, over there the wines in the Galil, even today, right? All the wines come from the Galil, from the north of Eretz Yisrael. Over there the wines are better than the oil. So in the last case of the Mishnah, the wine is of a better quality. But the question over here is, so what happens? So now he finds out that it's oil, so oil is a lower quality, and therefore the point is that when a person is makdish, it's ba'ayin ra. Silver is a lesser quality, oil is a lesser quality, and we say that that's his intention. When he gives hektish, he wants to give what's less. But the question comes back, Reishe Kashit Rav Chisda. But the first case of the Mishnah is a question on Rav Chisda, because over there we're saying that the in the Reishe of the Mishnah we're saying that the white ox becomes hektish, and Rav Chisda said that the white ox is a better quality. How does the one that's better quality become hektish? Rav Chisda answers, Ki Yamri Beture the Karmenoi. This that I said that the white ox is a better quality, that's only a certain ox that comes from a certain place, from Karmenoi. But true, usually the white ox is not as good as a quality as the black ox. So therefore, in the Mishnah as well, when the white ox becomes hektish, it's a lower level of quality. That's the way we understand. Ba'ayin ra, a person is maktish. Okay, the Gemara concludes with another statement of Rav Chisda. V'amar Rav Chisda, uchme, a black ox, lamashche. It's the best for the hide of the animal. The hide will be the best, the strongest quality. Sumke, a red ox, lebasare, has the best meat. Chivre, the white ox, leradya. That's the best for plowing in the field. So here, according to this statement of Rav Chisda, we see that each one of these oxen have a different advantage. Fragt the Gemara, but v'hamer Rav Chisda uchme bechivra lakya. Rav Chisda said that you have a black ox amongst the white oxen, so it brings down the quality, it brings down the value of all of the white oxen. Why? Why does the black one bring down the value? Each one has an advantage. The black one has an advantage that its hide is better. Why should it bring down the value of all the white oxen? So again, the Gemara answers, like we just said, Kiyamri betura de karmenoi. This that we said, that the white is unique and it's much better than the black, that's only these white oxen that come from karmenoi. But generally speaking, not necessarily is it better, like we just explained over here. Okay.